Hey everyone, Chris Sawyer here. The Varietal Show is back. I am very lucky to be with my great friend Darrin Low, and we are in Anderson Valley, Mendocino County. If you guys have been watching some shows I've done recently up here in Mendocino County, it's really fun. I can't get enough of it. I always like to say it's my staycation, but I just go a little bit north and I'm in a different county, and it's great. You know, right above Sonoma County, not that far from San Francisco. But where we're at is at Domaine Anderson, and this is, think about Anderson Valley, Domaine Anderson, very easy to remember. To be really honest, we kind of just go, this is a little map here if you can see it, but we are kind of near the town of Boonville, which is right here. But just past Boonville is Domaine Anderson. It's a great place. You can see all these slopes back here. That's where I was just staying with my family this last weekend. And I couldn't pass up the opportunity to be here with Darrin. Darrin and I had some fun times back in the old days when he was at Flowers. You guys might know Flowers Winery, and so we're going to talk about this great Chardonnay in a minute from Domaine Anderson. Our funnest activity together was up at the International Pinot Noir celebration up in Willamette Valley. We had a blast at this total party, and it was even afterwards when we ate chili dogs because we just had to. You guys know those kinds of evenings where it's just the right thing to do. Darrin, here you are. You worked way up in the mountains for Flowers, and now you're here in Anderson Valley. Tell us a little bit about how different this is for you to be working in an area that really has come into its own really over the past 30 years.
Yeah, well, first, Chris, thanks for coming up.
Yep.
It's really great to see you.
Great to see you too, brother.
And so coming from the Sonoma Coast to Anderson Valley, I think was a pretty big change, but the timing, I really love the timing. I think Anderson Valley right now is really hitting its stride. You know, it's a small appellation. You know, compared to, say, the Russian River Valley, we have 2,500 acres under vine in Anderson Valley, and there's 15,000 acres under vine in Russian River. So we'll always be small, primarily Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. A lot of great sparkling wine out there, too, from Anderson Valley. But yeah, Domaine Anderson, we're in Philo, California, right in the middle of the valley. We started in 2012 was our first vintage, but we're wholly owned by a Roederer estate, so you know that's the sparkling.
You guys ever have that sparkling wine? It's got something to do with right here where we're at right now, and I think that this is. Let me just say one thing very big for a Roederer estate. When this appellation was made in 1983, so we're going on the 40-year anniversary this coming year, next year. This area was very unknown to most people. You came out here just to go to the coast, I mean, and the redwoods. It's so beautiful. But the real story behind it was that there were some great plantings of white grapes here. And Chardonnay was one of them, but they were mainly used for sparkling wines. But there was Riesling, Gewürztraminer, things like that were here. There's only about 56 acres of Pinot Noir. Now there are over 2,000 acres of Pinot Noir here. So we're talking about a big change, and there's still about 500 acres of white grapes. So the reason, in my opinion, that this all changed is because Roederer came here. And this is a French company. If you guys know Christol, Louis Roederer, same owner, same everything. What were they thinking? What do they know about that area that we don't know? And that's what makes me so great and so happy to have followed this for so many years and watched the maturity of this. And I give so much credit to Roederer and just the great people, Arnaud, the great winemaker, and you get to hang out with Arnaud a lot more than I do. But he's an amazing winemaker, great bubbly maker. Obviously, we know that, but also makes still wines. Don't forget that. But here we are in a special place, and they really they came here. That when the French come and they start buying American property, they're onto something. And people started following, and here we are today.
Yeah, 1982 is when Louis Roederer came, and the Rousseau family came and planted the flag and really wanted to start something. But I think because of our proximity to the ocean, it was a straight shot. It's 20 miles to the ocean. We get that constant kind of air conditioner effect, like really direct, because it goes up and down the Navarro River corridor. And so it's great for cool climate varietals, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and perfect to make sparkling wine because you retain that acidity, but get that sun in the daytime and the cool nights, so you can get that ripeness but retain that acidity. And then, you know, just taking it a step further, it's really an ideal place to grow Pinot Noir. And the family really thought, maybe kind of got a little late into the game, because I think American Pinot, California Pinot really got its start in like the 80s, at the same time. But then, you know, so in 2011 is when found this property in Philo, and started making, you know, the vineyards were already here in 2009, but really started achieving this, trying to, you know, go for this dream of an organic estate. So all our grapes were certified organic, you know, bought in 2011. 2014 we were certified organic. 2016 certified biodynamic by Demeter. And then in 2018 I got the winery certified organic. So anyways, starting from the 19 vintage, you know, we've already made, you know, 7 vintages up to then, is when I can finally have like the made with organic grapes. You know? And that's, it's a small little mention in the back, but it's pretty important to us because we really want to bring that wine growing philosophy into our wine making. And so it's minimal. I really try to let the vineyard be as expressive as much as it can, and not get in the way from my winemaking.
Now, speaking of Chardonnay, obviously you had some background making wines, you know, Chardonnay and flowers in, you know, Sonoma Coast. I mean, if you guys haven't had flowers Sonoma Coast, then, you know, it really was I mean, when I think about Sonoma Coast, and especially where you were, that's way the hell out there. I mean, it wasn't an easy ride, but you look at the great winemakers who went through there, Ted Lemon and you and Ross Cobb and Greg LaFollette, and all these great people made those wines, and you have these opportunities. This is just different here, isn't it?
Yeah, just a real small correction. It wasn't Ted. It was a Kistler.
Steve Kistler. Sorry. We still love Ted Lemon. Don't get me wrong. That's a little bit more of a we can go into Hirsch's vineyard and how he planted part of that, but let's not go there.
Technicality.
Yeah, technicality.
So yeah, I mean, it's what I love about working on Domaine Anderson is that we are 100% estate fruit, and you know, that was what, 15 years ago. And in those 15 years, I think more and more American winemakers are, you know, looking into organic. I mean, just the American public in general.
Oh, yeah.
So organic has become more popular. But I think in terms of winemaking, it really kind of allows us to genuinely make wine from that place. Because you really are limited to what you can add to the wines to make it, you know, and I think in the big kind of corporate culture, you can get a lot of like monotonous type of wines, you know, like wines that are very, very good, but very same. And so, you know, I think with the farming techniques, and then translated, you know, a step further in winemaking to kind of minimalize the intrusion of manipulations, you're going to get more of a, you know, a pure expression of the
other thing is you want people that could walk there, live there, feel safe about that. If you're not sustainable now in California, you're in the wrong business. You have to start there. But organics means that you're committed to it really pretty much 365 days of the year, and you really look for the health of the vines as well as health for people, and just a healthy network, you know, of everyone around you. Mendocino County, put it on the map. Let me say that right out the bat. There's no more organically certified vineyards per vineyards planted in a county than in Mendocino County. And look at who started this stuff. I mean, Fetzer and all these great people, Frey and all these kinds of families that really into this a long time ago. And so we're lucky, you know, that Anderson Valley has really been proactive on organics since the beginning too. So it's just it's a beautiful area out here. You know, like the one thing that you worry about sometimes with organics is how much, you know, fog do you have, because you can get moist, you can do a lot of things there. But to be really honest, this is protected by a really great range of mountains. We call it the Mendocino Ridge, and it really protects this area. So it really isn't that foggy here like a lot of other areas are. So especially Sonoma County, where we have a lot of fog that comes in, you really cannot stop that stuff. We don't have a hill like that in the Petaluma Gap, for instance. But speaking of great things, before we get into the Chardonnay, I just tasted this rosé. This is really great. This is the 2001 vintage. 21, sorry. 2021, sorry. I keep thinking about this older wine that we're going to taste in a few minutes. But 2021, young, vibrant, has body, you guys. A rosé with body. This is different than the patio pounders. This is like the one that when I first tasted it, I'm thinking about 15 things I could pair with this wine as far as really fine foods. And right now we're really looking at summertime and getting even into the fall months and how these kinds of wines are very important to us. We did not have rosé as a serious subject, 15 years ago at all.
It's been
we're very serious now.
Yeah, pretty popular within the last, 10 years maybe?
Yeah.
And I love it.
I love it too.
Tis the season right now for rosé. I mean, once the weather starts getting warm, it's like perfect. You don't have to have a porch to pound it, but it's like you said, I think it goes so well with so many different kinds of food because of that bright acid and that kind of like richness from the skin contact, the small skin contact.
Obviously, just by tasting this, you can tell they got some good grapes here. Tell us a little bit about this vineyard that we're at right now, even though it's not declared on here that this is from this estate, even though it's very much from the estate. Yeah. But, we're going to be tasting this Chardonnay that it really is in just a moment. But tell us a little bit about this estate and what makes it so special.
Yeah, so this is where the winery's at in Philo. This is called the Dash Vineyard. And so the Dash was the family that had owned it previously, and so we just kept the name and called the vineyard the Dash, D-A-C-H. It looks like Doc, but it's pronounced Dash. And it's 20 acres total, but we have 17 of it planted, 15 to Pinot Noir, 9 different clones and selections, a lot of it heritage selections, and then 2 acres of Chardonnay, of which this bottle is from. And that is mostly heritage selection. And it, like I said, it was all organic by 2014 and 2016 with biodynamic. And so what I love about this vineyard from the Pinot side is that it's got my tannin structure. It's a warm site here in the middle of the valley. Not as warm as Boonville and not as cold as the deep end, but it's really kind of like powerful, broad-shouldered tannins, and so it's a challenge for me to not extract too many of it, too much tannin, because otherwise the wine can get a little drying sometimes and astringent. So that's on the Pinot side. For the Chardonnay side, I love it really holds the acidity. So I mean, I can talk technicalities, but the kind of getting a little geek speak here. The pH of this wine is like 3.2. It finishes at 3.2, which is like really low compared to like most California Chardonnays. 3.1, 3.2, and that's after we start at like 3.05, and then it goes through malolactic, 100% malolactic fermentation, and then it becomes 3.1, 3.2. Right. And then it's just really just focused and just very delicious kind of white stones, a lot of like lychee and melon flavors. It's really just kind of like it's bright and cleansing on the palate. And that's what I really love about it.
What I love about it too is just the oak is super well integrated. It's there, but to me, remember I said right when we first tasted it, it really tasted a little bit more like a coconut raw, which I love coconut. And it's already gone, but it just had like something that gets you hooked right away. And now it's got a little bit more creamy texture. Yeah. There's tons of flavor in here, and it's got great acidity. I mean, still, it does have great acidity, and it's bright and it's fresh and it's wonderful. It's a very giving kind of Chardonnay, and it's very different. And we were talking about this too. Very different than the old days, you guys, when everything was buttery oaky, boring, and you don't want everyone to taste the same, and you don't want the oak to be the dominant force, especially when you're in a great growing area like this.
Yeah. It really hides a lot of things. The oak can mask a lot of things, hide a lot of things, and because of our farming, I want to show that off.
Right.
So, minimal oak.
So speaking of which, let's do the younger one first, and then we're gonna taste an older one in a few minutes. But I just think that just because we're still talking about the same vineyard, so this is from the estate. This is a 2018 current release. From the vineyard here. 2018 was a good vintage for winemakers, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an easy vintage. It was perfect conditions, not too hot. We didn't really have any heat spikes, and we weren't in a drought yet. Last few years, at 2021, we were in a drought. But 18 was really nice.
Oop.
Yeah.
Someone get that.
Right. Yeah. It's gonna ring.
Yeah, it's gonna ring for a few minutes here, you guys. Hang on.
You want me to?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Excuse me.
So, yeah. Since we're the only ones here, you guys, we have to hide this. But here's the Domaine Anderson. So this is on the back. It does say estate bottled, which is fantastic. We've got 2018 vintage for a lot of people is going to be a little bit more showy. Just right up front, it had fruit. The fruit was there, and it was a very good vintage here in California. I think. What would you say about the 2018 and 2019 in a row? Do you think those are two of the finest vintages you've ever worked in a row? I think a lot of people would argue that.
I fully agree. I think it's really, I kind of take it like 18, 19, 20, and 21.
Yeah.
Just to kind of see, we came out of a drought.
Yeah.
In like 13, 14.
Yeah.
And then, things were a little more normal growing season, and then 18 was just the perfect year to growing season in the
Tastes like it too.
19 very similar. We did have like 1 or 2 heat spikes in the summer.
Yeah.
But it was very manageable. We had enough water to kind of like manage some of the. We'll put on the overhead sprinklers to cool down the grapes. Not really irrigate. I like to dry farm as much as I can. And then we came into the drought. So. Yeah. But what we got from those drought years, I think 20 and 21 were excellent vintages as well. Yeah. You'll see when the wines come out, but the concentration on those wines are phenomenal. Yeah. They're not big monolithic wines, but they're the concentration and density of those wines. And when you're trying to make like an elegant style of Pinot, which I'm trying to like make a less extracted, a little more just elegant style of Pinot, those wines with that density and concentration can turn out really, really beautiful.
Yeah, I've been blown away by these vintages, and 2021 was another one, exactly. So you're going to see a lot of these coming out. This is a 2020. It is mouth filling. It can be tannic here, it can be like grippy, but this is very smooth to me. You've done a great job with this and being able to capture the fruit and its powerfulness, but you've also made it kind of sexy and silky and wonderful. How do you do that?
It's growing the grapes, and it's not all me. So it takes a team to kind of make this to make a beautiful wine, really to grow it and from the start. But I just try to get out of the way, try to like guide it to make it what I want it to make. And so the 18 the estate is really kind of, it takes from all 3 parts of the the Boonville warmest area, here the Dash Vineyard, which is kind of like in the middle but the very tannic. So my warmest area has got the softness of the fruit and the ripeness. Here's got the tannin and the structure, and then on the deep end I get like more of the kind of octane. So that's where the power comes from, because I could I could like let the grapes hang time on the vine, so like I can get those grapes up to as much as like just obscene alcohols, which I try to avoid, but then it kind of like that's what nature gives me, and so that's why I kind of let that go. But so the estate bottling is a combination of the 3 sites.
And him talking about obscene alcohols. This is 13.2, you guys, right here. So obscene alcohols here is not like 17.2% Zinfandel. Oh my God, you're driving me crazy. Kill the boar. Let's have some wild boar right now. Right? Not exactly the same. With salmon, yeah, this would be great. Everything about it. Here we are in a coastal area too. I think about salmon. I think about all these kinds of things that are so common here. Our good friend Van Williamson was just running out. I saw him yesterday, and he was, "Oh, Chris, I'll be around, but I'm going tuna fishing this week." So this is what they do. This is how they eat up here in Anderson Valley. You can be eating this way too, and you can definitely be drinking this way if you come up more often. So I thought this would be a fun thing for us to do. You were not here when this wine was made, but I thought that this would. You and I discussed it, and I thought that this 2014. This is from the Pinoli Vineyard, and so tell us a little bit about the Pinoli Vineyard and why it's different than where we're at right now. And this is a wine with a little bit of age on it, but it's just a different kind of area, and we call it the deep end. So tell us a little bit about the deep end.
Sure. Okay, so our Pinoli Vineyard is from the deep end, which is the end of the valley that is northwest of here, closer to the ocean. So it's our closest vineyard to the ocean. It happens to be our vineyard that's the kind of highest in elevation, and it sits. Our highest point is probably like 600 feet in elevation, so it's not super high, but considering it's above the valley floor that much, it makes a difference. And so this is the area. So the ocean is here.
Yep.
Here, let me see.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah.
The ocean's on this side.
Yep.
And then the wind and fog come in up valley this way and then recedes that way. So we're kind of in the middle.
Yep.
The deep end is closer to the ocean, so it's the coldest and the most influenced by the Pacific Ocean. And so what that allows me to do is the ripening patterns on this Pinoli ranch is that it can have the longest hang time, but it also, because of the cool nights, retains that acidity. So, for instance, last couple of years I've been picking at 27 bricks, and the finish pH or the finish acid is probably 0.6, 0.7. So like very balanced acid, but like high alcohol. Yeah, we're talking 15 and a half alcohol. Yeah. It's not out of balance. It's like it's not. What I could do in the winery is just to put the brakes on and not extract so much in the presence of alcohol. And so like you get that richness. But then I don't want the texture of like kind of muddied Pinot Noir, where it's like things are a little like little too, there's no definition. And so that's what I want to try to get is like a powerful Pinot Noir with definition. Definition.
Well, I think that's one of the wonderful things about this valley, just in general. You have acidity, brightness, and freshness. You can preserve it if you've got real acid there. And if you have to add acid, that's not really the best thing you've ever done, because it's not really natural anymore, is it? So you can create this balance here, and going that way, that's kind of where we stayed. Just our family stayed right up above that, about 1,000 feet above that. But just recently, and wow, what an amazing area that is down at that end. If you guys know Milla Hanley's vineyard is kind of the beginning of the deep end, where it kind of stretches out like this, and it kind of goes that way until you get to the Navarro Straits, which is what we call it. It's where you're surrounded by redwoods, you're surrounded by trees, forest, everything, and you drive that way all the way until you get to the ocean, and it's awesome. But this is why we call it the deep end here. It's just because we're really pushing it that way. A very interesting point too. This really starts actually in the southeast area and goes up, backwards, southeast down here, and goes up to northwest. And so so it's not a straight line that goes straight from what we call Cloverdale in Sonoma County. It doesn't go straight like that. It goes like this. And so really that point is up there on the map. So it's a really unique area. It's closer to the ocean like you used to be at Flowers, but you were way up on the ridge, whereas this is more about not that high above the river, actually.
Yeah, is exactly right. I think and that channeling, kind of like the northwest, southeast northwest kind of orientation, channels the temperatures differently.
Yeah.
And so, but it's very consistent, and I think that's one of the reasons why Rotor State in the first place kind of like thought to you know, start making wine here, you know, in the 80s. And you know, there's a lot of great places to make wine in the North Coast, and this is definitely one of them. This is definitely one of the more smaller ones. So it's still a little, you know, in time. Boonville and Philo are still kind of very small towns, and you know, if you do make that trip up here, if you know,
and you should,
you should, yeah, we'd love to see you in our beautiful tasting room.
Yeah.
But it's taking a little, you know, it's like pace is more relaxed. There's not as many people, and it's just it's a really, you know, quiet, but also delicious and very packed full of wineries and restaurants, and it's just a little further off the beaten path than your typical wine country destination.
Absolutely. I love this wine. It's got some real character to it now after all these years, you know, really has that little leathery, dark fruits or their little natural richness. What I love the most about it, and what reminds me so much of Mendocino, is it does have a mushroomy kind of character to it. And to me, risotto with wild mushrooms, shave a little bit of you know, black truffle on it. What the heck, you know? And you've got me with this wine and where it's at right now, starting that kind of thing. I might do these backwards. We might have a risotto for that course with this, and I might be doing, you know, lamb with this wine right now, because it's young, it's very vibrant, it's got a lot more muscle on it, not because of its alcohol, it's only 13.2, but it just is showy right now, and that's that lamb. But man, this is tasting so good. In Mendocino County, very well known for their wild mushrooms here too, and all sorts of mushroom events that go on here. These two wines really exemplify to me what Anderson Valley is about, and so do these wines as well. So, Darrin, thank you so much for hosting me and hosting my great group. You know, it's always fun to see you. We have more crazy adventures ahead for him and I. We've already had some, but you can never have enough, right? But thank you once again for joining us for this amazing show here at Domaine Anderson, and thank you once again, Darrin.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Chris.